Hi, I'm Sartana, and I am a VTuber. In real life, I work in entry/mid-level recruitment within the UK, so just bear that in mind before we get stuck in. Today, we're going to talk about applications. Now, everything is digital these days, so odds are your application is going to be the first thing any recruiter sees. You need to make sure you are hitting the marks required on that advert. The absolute most important thing you can do is make sure you have read that advert properly. I don't have enough fingers to count how many applications get rejected because people haven't actually read the advert and then responded correctly in the first instance. You need to be making sure that you are saying, you want this person, I am this person. Get that right, you should be good to go. Now, because applications need to be input twice for every job, trust me, I don't know why we do it either, it's usually a good idea to keep a copy of your CV or details just so you can copy/paste it into the forms. I've lost track of the number of times I've applied for a job, put in all my details, and then they've asked me to attach my CV, or vice versa. Feels like a waste of time, but just making sure it's in that correct format so you can just copy it across will make your life a little bit easier. The one thing I do want to say is don't use the same CV for every job. Odds are there's details on there that don't matter or could work against you. I've worked various jobs before. I've been rejected for listing my cleaning experience on a CV. They'd asked me for 5 years of work experience. I put that in because it was within my last 5 years of work, and they marked me down because I didn't have 5 years of relevant experience. I actually would have scored better had I not included it at all. It's easier to outline why you might have a career gap if you can say that you were employed but the tasks weren't necessarily relevant to the role you've applied for. Another tool that can be handy is having a spreadsheet or some other tool with your achievements on it. Saves you having to remember things, especially if you've wound up doing a lot over the years. I use this, and the amount of things that I've done that I just forgot because there's been so many things going on, it's bizarre. But I would really recommend taking that. Something else to bear in mind is if you are applying multiple times for the same company, is if they have a small recruitment team, you will be having your CV reviewed over and over again, likely by the same person. If you just keep resubmitting the same thing and it's not working for you, it's because odds are you're getting somebody who has read this before, gone, this was not what we needed then, and it's not what we need now. These things are usually trained up among the team as well. So if you are just repeatedly applying with exactly the same details and not getting anywhere, that's probably why. Make sure you're mixing up a little bit, even if it's changing up the wording. Not just running it through a thesaurus, not just running it through Word and switching up for synonyms. Rewrite some of those examples, rephrase them a little bit. It will do you a lot of favours. So, when it comes to who's assessing your application, some businesses will have a dedicated recruitment team. Some businesses, it will wind up being a local manager or someone senior in the workflow assessing your application. What this means is that they think they're better at assessing applications than they are. They'll think they're a little bit bigger than their booties perhaps fit. And that means these sort of people assessing will be looking for mistakes and reasons to say no, rather than looking for reasons to say yes. You need to make sure you're either standing out or doing enough that they can sit there and go, well, you've not done anything wrong, I can't refuse you. Make sure you're getting those applications correct. The other thing to bear in mind based on that is regardless of if it's a recruitment team, and regardless of if it's an individual, a manager, God knows what, remember that whoever is looking at your application is a person. They've got no idea what you've done, they don't know who you are, or why you are the right choice. You need to tell them. And I don't want you to say, oh, well, I'm a good fit because I understand X, Y, and Z. I need you to show that you understand that. If you just say, I'm a good leader, Anyone can say that. You need to back that up with evidence. Evidence that. You led a team, you took charge and prioritised X, Y, and Z to make sure that you achieved something. Show us that you understand what you're talking about. Don't just tell us that you're good at it. That is one of the most important things. The thing is, there's so many ways that you can show that. Make it clear you've gone out of your way. Things that weren't necessarily your job, but you've took them on and found creative solutions. You run the very real risk of being rejected because a lot of recruiters, and they shouldn't do this, but I have heard them do this, is saying that's just what your job was. That's all you were being paid to do. You need to be able to say, well, maybe my job was to stack shelves in a supermarket, but I noticed there was an issue with the way that the store was laid out or the way that we were doing things, brought it with management, we trialed something, maybe adjusting where the displays are, improving customer flow and increasing the sales of priority items, something like that. That suddenly elevates it from, well, I helped a manager rearrange the store to, I used my experience, I made recommendations, I helped do things. Note that as well. It's always what I did, not what we did. We don't care what the rest of your team did. I want to know why you are the one to be hired. I have marked so many applications, interviews, etc., where the person applying will never tell me what they did. They'll tell me what the team did, and it's lovely, or they'll say they forwarded it to a manager and the manager did X, Y, and Z. I'm not trying to assess the manager, I'm not assessing the rest of your team. I want to know what you did. And there's ways that you can sort of build things. Like, so much of your experience is more than just what you're contracted to do. Like, for example, taking phone calls for a call centre. You're engaging with external stakeholders, you are developing relationships, supporting the business's reputation. Are you like a cleaner? You're ensuring areas are maintained to exceptional standards, supporting the flow of work and providing an optimal environment, while ensuring you've managed your duties to make sure that all of the jobs can be done within the allocated timeframes. That could just even be that, while you were cleaning, on Mondays you might have done the dusting and on Wednesdays you might have done the, skirting boards or something. They don't need to know about that. But the way that you've organised yourself, suddenly that's a skill that you can bring across to any other job. Keep that in mind. That's one of the most dangerous things that people do when it comes to applying for a job. It's sitting there going, oh, it was just part of the job. I don't need to think about that because that was just me doing my job. Take the job, break it down. What did you do? And how did you implement that effectively? Because anyone can sit there and say, well, I used to take calls. Anyone can sit there and say, oh, well, I'm a great customer service advisor because I worked the checkouts in McDonald's. Okay. But what did that actually do? Were you making sure that you were taking that extra time to engage with customers? You were having a little chat maybe just to make sure they felt welcome? Were you double checking their orders and making sure that things were right for quality? These are the sort of things that we're looking for at that sort of general entry level to mid-level job. We want to know that you understand what you've done and why you've done it. You've not just done it because you've been told to, or because you've been paid to. This stuff is also worth bringing up in interview, because a lot of the time the interviews are your opportunity to expand on your CV, expand on your application, go, yep, I've told you this is what I do, now let me explain a bit more. We might touch on interviews in a later session, but for now, just remember, you are more than just what your job was. Think about why you've done it and how you've done it. Now, on top of CVs and general applications, odds are you'll get some sort of judgment test. Either a customer service skills test or some form of personality test. Now, I've got a British Psychological Society qualification. I can say with some level of authority that they're not worth the paper they're written on. Go with the sensible options, the ones that sort of focus on customer service and experience but sticking within policy guidelines. I remember doing the tests for McDonald's, and I used to fail them all the time, but then eventually it was just like, look, I'm going to stop answering the way that I feel like it's worth answering, and I'm going to answer from the perspective of customer service comes first. And suddenly I passed through. It's all about making sure you're offering that good service and making customers happy in frontline customer service. If you're working in like an administrative role, you enjoy, sifting through, you have a fine eye for detail. You want to make sure that everything is done appropriately and at pace, Assess the job you're going for, try and be sensible with the questions, because sometimes you got feelings right, and sometimes what they're looking for it might feel a bit daft. Now, this is one bit of advice that I will give, but I don't think you should bear it in too much mind. I think it's stupid. I hate it. But odds are, if you are applying for a major corporation, there'll be answer keys for the tests online. For these judgment tests, someone will have passed it, they'll have put what they answered on the internet. You can get through. So like I say, these tests, they're not worth the paper they're written on. Covering letters. Now, in the UK, we don't tend to ask for a covering letter where you're on your knees grovelling and pretending that you've trained all your life to fax documents for some tiny admin company or something. You know what I mean? It's what we want to do is introduce you. We want you to highlight the skills you mentioned on your CV in a little bit of context. We want to know why you're interested in this general type of role. I mean, I like it if you understand the business, but equally, I want to know that you care about the work that you would be doing. Think about it like this. If you don't care, then you are a risk. Because bringing people in, and training them up, employing them, it costs a lot of time and a lot of money. By the time you're up to the position where you're sort of running with the rest of the team and you're getting where you need to be, it may have cost the business thousands of pounds, thousands of dollars, whatever currency. And some folk just dip because it's not what they necessarily expected. They didn't really have a passion for it. They didn't really feel like it was what they wanted to do. They were just there for a paycheck. And it is a risk. Now, this is something that, as a recruiter, and just generally, that sort of, it will impact on how you get a job. If you walk in and just say, oh, I want a job because I want a paycheck, you're not going to get it. Yes, there is an element of you are there to bring skills and sell your time to that business in exchange for a paycheck. But that business wants to make sure that they are handing that paycheck to somebody who is able to do the job, who cares about the job, and wants to make sure that, they're not going to be a poor investment. Please, please, please don't be walking into interviews, don't be walking into applications. Think like there's a difference between being confident and being arrogant. Make sure that you are confident in your skills. You're offering them your time, your skills, your ability to bring things to this business, and they are going to offer you pay and security in return. That's the trade. Now, some businesses don't necessarily offer that, and that's fair enough. Some businesses just want bums in seats. But I would just ask that you don't go into your applications being almost expecting a role. You've got to make sure that the business is confident that you want the role. Now, final point I just want to make is some businesses operate using AI in their introductory application process. Personally, I hate it. AI is stupid. It doesn't always understand what's been brought up, and if the paperwork has been generated by an AI will go, "Ooh, this is marvellous, this is the sort of thing I'd spit out, that means that it's great." Don't do it. If it's AI assessing the jobs, whatever, you do you. But if you are being double checked by a person, or if it's just a person doing the initial assessments on your application, we can sniff it out a mile away. Generative AI is helpful, but it's not good. The thing is, if you're sitting there in a position like myself where you're assessing tens to hundreds a week of applications, you're gonna get a feeling for what AI feels like, and you'll be able to tell what has been produced by a large language model, be it ChatGPT or any of the other common ones. They reek of laziness, and they don't have the depth that we need. They tend to be very general because they have scraped general ideas from the internet and gone, these are the ones that are most common, these are the ones that seem to fit the bill. But it takes away that little bit of soul and that bit of passion that really makes you stand out. Plus, if you think it's a bright idea to do it, everybody else is going to think it's a really bright idea to do it, and you'll all end up submitting the same application. There will come a point where the people that are sifting these applications will go, that's garbage, that's garbage, that's garbage, because they'll all start exactly the same way. And even if you mix it up partway through, you may have just got it too late. I would really, really advise against the use of AI in trying to show people who you are. There's nothing wrong with resubmitting like similar CVs and drafts, but make sure that, your hand is on it. Now, you can use AI to refine a response, to help you make sure your grammar's right, to make sure the application reads well, but just don't submit a pure AI response. Most companies for lower level roles just don't tolerate it. It's, generally speaking, it will lack the depth you need to get that job. If it's a large company, they will probably see, if they have 1,000 applications and 900 of them are AI, all the AI ones are just not going to pass. They're not going to pass. You need to make sure you're not shorting yourself. So when it comes to applications, hopefully there's been some good points here. If there is anything that you want to sort of ask down in the comments, feel free to do so. I'll do my best to answer. I'm not always going to be able to give the most intimate responses, but I have been working in recruitment for a few years now, and these are some of the major issues that I do see, and some of the advice that I can really sort of give. Sell yourself. We don't know who you are, and as things get more and more digital, there will be less opportunities for you to show me that you're going to be good to work with. You need to make sure that you are lining everything up in your favour, because just qualifications will not do it anymore. Everybody has a degree. Degrees mean nothing. My degree has not helped me get any job yet. Please just make sure that you have good examples, decent experience, and be able to prove that you understand what you're talking about. Alright, thank you guys, I'll catch you next time.